Dr. Miguel or Richard, do you want to add a little bit to that?
I do. I want to rant.
Okay. Do you want to see a slide? Or
No, I just want to rant. Because it hurts me, it pains me to see such a bright mind researcher spend their life investigating a material that we never needed in the first place. So, an amazing PhD student, and Ed McLaren spends 20 years investigating zirconia, and he came to solve no problem except for bridges.
Okay, so no, actually, obviously we can only do so much in 15 minutes. Okay, so the reality is we have some phenomenal materials that we didn't
want to let me run
that for anything except the bridge. I would agree with that. Okay, that we had materials that fit in every space. But there's another reality. There's a lot of teeth that had crowns. Okay, that you've removed an old crown. That it is nice to have a material that you can use conventional cement with. All right. And most general dentists use conventional cement. I'm all reinforced glass on every. But that is a good space for that. I would push back, and I would argue that is a good space. Single crowns, posterior teeth, bridges, and teeth that needed to be crowned. You and I are in the same space, my friend. I rarely do a crown. I mean, most everything I do is partial restorations, veneers, things like that. But there are some circumstances where we get to do a crown. There's I
disagree with that, but even that's not where I want to take the argument, because there's a good argument about crowns, no crown. My rant is, and we're not moving from unread but it's just since it is similar, and it actually ties down to your rave, and we didn't plan it. We have lithium disilicate since 25 years ago that does everything that zirconia does except for bridges, right? If you learn how to prep, if you learn how to bone. My beef, my rant, what gets me upset is that we spent 20 years evaluating this product from the company side, from the researcher, from the students, and after 20 years, we're not better than before. My rant is about how much energy we put as a profession into perfecting this material that did not come to solve a problem. Now, lithium disilicate came to solve a problem. We remove metal. PFM came to solve a problem. Now we can have teeth that look like teeth. And no, but
lithium disilicate.
And now we're doing the same thing with 3D printing. We're going to spend the next 20 years trying to 3D print single restorations, and by the time we perfect that, we're back to, we have another option of something that we already have. That's my prediction. And there's so many problems that we could put in that brain problem to solve, like secondary decay.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But all right. Those are different researchers. Now let me just say something, Richard. First of all, okay, I agree with a lot of what you say. Okay, because most of what I do is Emax or an Emax type material. Most of what I do is feldspathic porcelain. Okay, I'm doing more and more machined restorations, minimal painting, things like that. All the things that you do. Okay, but there are clearly a bridge, clearly zirconia for a bridge, a translucent zirconia for a bridge. I just don't think anything compares for strength and breakage. All right, and then for subgingival margins, I really worry about Emax with a subgingival margin that I can't bond very well. Okay, molars. So I would say there are some indications. You're right. There's an inordinate amount of energy that's gone into just a couple of indications, but there are a couple of indications.
I'm going to rant a little bit because I've been in this 40 years. And we're back. The one thing we can do with zirconia that we were only able to do with feather prep gold, because I come from the world of the gold bastions at Loma Linda, and they hammered their gold crowns on with zinc phosphate, and really they stayed on by the ability to be so precisely done, and tissue loved it. Zirconia is now allowing us to go back into these cases where patients don't want gold, because I still do a lot of gold. And we're able to do a zirconia highly polished in a vertiprep style, where we're feathering out our margins, we're highly polishing them, and the tissue absolutely adores.
Tissue loves zirconia.
And there's been nothing like that. And so I will argue with your rant all day long.
Tissue loves zirconia.
Because when we're replacing subgingival margins,
tissue loves zirconia.
And you have to remember, when you look at the entire world of, I've been in the adhesion world for 40 years. Even today, dentists don't truly understand the detail and the parameters that go into bonding a crown and restoration on. And so for those who aren't going to dive deep into that, we do have a material that they can replace with a traditional cement, get an amazing result. So that's kind of my rant on it.
Let's sum that, guys. I think what we're only gonna end up agreeing on here is that it does work. We want to be very conservative still in our use, how we do it. We don't want to do crowns where they're not necessary.
Well, it's a replacement material. It's a wonderful replacement material for old crowns.
But I would strongly agree with you on Miguel. You all need to relook at an Emax type material. That happens to be the market leader and obviously one of the best, if not the best.
Now, Richard brought in a great point, which is subgingibility and how tissue loves zirconia. One of the problems that I'm going to counter with, if we start adding the positives and adding the negatives and kind of see what works, is finally we have materials that I can take an X-ray and see through. And now with zirconia, I can take an X-ray and I cannot see through. And I think there's a humongous thing that nobody talks about. That, hey, I like my translucent materials. I want to see a void. I want to see the cement washing away. I want to see things started, not just when they spill over. And that's another thing that I have against zirconia. But hey, I'm the run, bro. I have to run, So,
right.
Well, that's a good argument. I mean, but in replacement crowns,
and then relative to my personal use, I would say if I do 100 restorations, 1 or 2 of them are zirconia. Most of them are now Emax and then feldspathic. Now, Richard, I have to push back a little bit on you. The quality that you can get if you know how to use an Emax compared to feldspathic is 98% aesthetically, 97%, somewhere in that ballpark. To do an onlay today out of feldspathic porcelain, I think in your hands, because you can control occlusion. The average dentist see a failure rate of probably 5 to 10% per year.
Oh, no, I can't argue with that for a minute. I just love the looks of them because I had a great laugh.
Well,